508 family, what's up? Today is a special podcast, and we got a big deal, a big time leader, and incredible man of God and an incredible teacher on with us today. We have Anthony ONeal, all the way from down in Tennessee. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on to this podcast. We're so excited to have some conversation with you. There's going to be a lot of young professionals that are watching this, and I promise you guys, you're going to want to take some notes, grab out your phone, grab anything you can to write down a few of these things, because this man spits gold on accident a lot of times too. And so we're so pumped to have you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, Devon, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate you, bro.
For real. So I'll let you tell a little of the story of how you got into where you're at right now. But I know you get to speak, and you have a huge platform for a lot of young professionals. You wrote a book called DebtFree Degree. Can you talk about the writing process of how you got there and why you wrote with that?
Yeah, one of the things that happened to me maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I really started realizing that, I've been teaching young people for years and years and years how to go to college debt free. But there was really nothing that was written on a practical, okay, here's the step-by-step plan. You follow this plan, you will be 100% debt free if you follow this plan. So when I met down with I sat with my team and I said, hey, let's put something together. Let's give them not just a book that with a bunch of fluff, but let's give them a process on how we can go from 7th grade to 8th grade to 9th grade to 10th grade to 11th grade to 12th grade to college. And what does that process look like? So it took us about a year process, man, to write that whole book because I had to do some research. I had to go out there and learn some things that I didn't know. And sit down and meet with people who could help me give the right information to young people. So it took a year process, and it worked out so well, man. We hit the number one bestseller list, and so grateful for that.
That's amazing. So some of the aspiring, young professionals that want to read, write, and produce content like that, what would you say to some of them? Like, I know you're a man that has strategy. You're a man with a plan. And so how did you write that book? I know you said it took like a year of development.
Yeah.
Do you sit down in time blocks? Like, how do you go about writing that book?
Well, here's the thing. If you can do it by yourself, your vision's not big enough. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I had a great team. I have a partner writer with me, and she was right along me. So I would write the outline and write the book, and she'll go back and do the editing, do the grammar checks, make sure it even makes sense, and make sure, okay, wait, maybe this should go in chapter 3. And so I didn't do all this on my own. I have a full team here, from a full-time writer to a full-time editor. And so that's what I would suggest people do. If you really want to write a book, get you a squad, get you a team that will help you bring your vision to pass. If you can write the book, print the book, and publish the book and promote the book all on your own, then it's probably not the book you want to write, because, you need help to really be successful.
Come on, man. Yeah, you don't go as far as you dream. You go as far as your team. I love that you have an incredible team behind you, as do I. I think I have some of the best young people on the planet behind me. We have an incredible team developing. So talk about that a little bit. So when it comes to team development, how have you picked some of the people that are on your squad, that are on your staff? I'm assuming you're in the position to hire many of these people too. So what are you looking for when it comes to like a standout team leader, employee, or somebody that you're going to have close to you in your circle? What are you looking for?
I think the very first thing is their relationship with Jesus Christ. We are a Christian-based organization. So everyone that I work with have to work and have to believe in Jesus Christ, have to be a Christian. I don't have anything against people who don't believe in the Christianity walk like myself, but to work closely with me and my brand, you have to be a Christian, because everything that I teach and everything that I stand on is Christian based. So that's number one. And two, they got to be a culture fit. You not only you can't just be good, but you got to also fit the culture, one, of Ramsey Solutions, and then two, of Anthony ONeal, because while the big company, the overarching company, is Ramsey Solutions, there's still this small base company within inside of the mother company, Ramsey Solutions, called Anthony ONeal. And so you've been working a lot with Heidi. And since I've been on the team, I probably had about 3 publicists, but she's the best fit for me because she's a great culture fit for both Ramsey, and she gets Anthony ONeal and my vision and what I want to do. And so everyone that's on my team, I probably have a team of about 11 people that work directly on my stuff. And all of them fit the culture. They understand where I'm going. I could be my authentic self. And I think that's important. Find you someone that you could be your authentic self with and have some of the hard conversations with. And you all can still walk away respectful from the conversation and feeling, okay, I still love that girl. I still love that guy. We can still work together. And then the last one is just people who can just communicate well. You know, if you really want to build a solid team, we need to be around people who can communicate well. And when I say communicate well, communicate even things that they may not agree with you on. I don't want people on my team who agree with everything that I say. I don't want a yes sir team. I don't want a yes ma'am team. I want a team that's like, well, no, I think we should go this way. I think we should consider that, because here's the truth. I don't know it all. And sometimes I act like I do, just to be real, bro. But the truth of the fact is I don't. Like, I do not know it all. So I think when you can get around people, one, who love Jesus Christ, who are culture fit, who know how to communicate, and you can be your authentic self, and they are allowed to be their authentic self, you have a solid team.
Excellent. So practical too. I'm super passionate about communication. I feel like it's a gift God gave me, but it's also something I work hard at. What would you say? Because I've actually been in auditoriums where you're communicating on a platform to thousands of students. Can you give me, and I know we're going a little off script, but I love this part of you because I think you're an excellent communicator. What are some keys, some principles, or some lessons you are trying to accomplish as you communicate publicly to people? And I'm not even just asking just in like a sermon sense, but when you're trying to communicate an idea from your heart to theirs, what are you trying to do and what are you trying to accomplish? How do you become such a great communicator? What have you done?
Man, simple answer. There's one thing that I try to do when I'm on the stage every single day. And when I get off the stage, I ask myself one question. Did I hit their felt need?
Good.
Their felt need. And not did I shout them as a preacher? Not did they laugh a lot as a communicator? No. Did I hit someone in their heart? Did I hit something that is deep inside of them? And was I able to help and talk into that? And that is a key thing that before I get on any stage, I study the audience I'm going to speak to. I pray and ask God for discernment. And, some people like to write their talks out word for word, and I'm completely opposite. I like to have my thoughts of where I'm going, and then I leave room for the Spirit to direct me on the path and the direction I should be going. And so when I'm on the stage, I have that freedom with God. I know where I'm going. So I know my opening. I know my 3 or 4 talking points. I know my closing, but I don't know how I'm going to connect everything together. And I leave room for God to direct that because I think it's very important. Prime example, one of the key things I do at every single conference that I speak at is before they open up the doors, I go out there and I shake hands and I hug people. And I don't do that just to be nice. I do that because I want to feel the Spirit. Like I want to feel what's happening in the room. And then it also helps me when I hit the stage, because you try the Spirit by the Spirit. So when I get on the stage, I'm already with the Spirit and I can flow a lot better because I know where I'm going. So that's the one key thing that I'm really trying to do when I'm on the stage is hit someone's felt need. And for those young people right now who may be saying, no, I want to be a pastor when I grow up. Pastoring doesn't mean you shout people. Some of the best sermons I've ever preached have been the sermons that the room was 100% silent. There was no laughter. There was no screaming. There was no shouting. It was just silence. And that's what it's about. You want to help someone where they are in life. Just because someone gets up and shout and run around, people can do that all day long. But did they leave with something that they can apply to their life the moment they get into the car?
Excellent, man. Yeah, we have a communicators class. We actually do it on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. And a question I always ask our team, or 3 questions, is what do you want them to know, what do you want them to feel, and what do you want them to do? I think that's the real point of communication, is you want to lead them somewhere. But touching that felt need is absolutely brilliant. And I think you've done an excellent job with that. So thank you for sharing that. I want to go through a little bit because you mentioned Ramsey Solutions, and then you even talked about your upbringing a little bit. I would love to encapsulate that all with a single question: is just how did you get up into the position you're at now? So you're in Ramsey Solutions now, but I also know you were a youth pastor at one point. So can you take me from where you were, how you got to be a youth pastor, how you transitioned out, and where you're at now? I know that's a big question, but
oh man, that's a big question. So to wrap up my whole life in a 2-minute situation, I would say this: grew up in a very strong Christian faith home. Blessed and fortunate to have 4 loving parents, 2 biological parents, 2 step parents. And all 4 of my parents were strong and very adamant about going to church. And so both of my fathers are pastors and preachers of the gospel. One of my moms, she is an ordained minister, and my other mother is just a strong praying woman. And so growing up, all I know and all I knew was church. You know, I couldn't go to dances. I couldn't go to prom. I couldn't go out on Friday nights because we had church. Nothing came before church. And so when I graduated high school and went through my life at college, you know, I pretty much jumped away from church. I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to church anymore. I want to do me. And life happened. Became homeless, racked up $35,000 in debt, thought about committing suicide. My parents kicked me out of the house. My friends left me hanging. And that was the season that God said, you know what? I brought you here to be naked spiritually. I want you to lose everything because I needed you to come back to me. And when he did that, that started my journey in the path that I'm on today. You know, I got a job, got back on my feet. Once I got back on my feet solid, I went and became a youth pastor at a small local church in Fayetteville, North Carolina, blew up there. Then this mega church said, hey, we love what you're doing. We've been following you. Can you come help us impact the city of Jacksonville? I came there. I started doing things with the Jaguars, with the school district, with Ebony Magazine, with Bishop T.D. Jakes, and just really started traveling the world and really speaking to young people, not just about spiritual life, but also about practical life. Like, hey, you know, God says faith without works is dead. So faith and works and faith works hand in hand. So we're going to talk about the faith, the spiritual, but I'm also teach you how to work. I'm going to teach you how to get a job. I'm going to teach you how to, you know, go to college debt free. I'm going to teach you the truth about a credit score. I'm going to teach you how to date. Young man, I'm going to teach you how to respect a young woman. I'm going to teach you how to ask her out on a date. I'm going to teach you how to not have intimacy before you get married. I'm going to teach you how to have a good time and be young in a practical way by still honoring Jesus Christ. And so when I started doing that, man, things just started catching on fire. And then Ramsey Solutions and Dave Ramsey himself started hearing about the things I was doing out there in Jacksonville and across the United States. And they just
heard about you.
Yeah. They heard about me and they sent me an invite. It's like, hey, we love what you're doing. Why don't you come speak at our Devo here at the company? I said, cool. Spoke at the Devo and the history was made from there, man. You know, they started about a year-long interview process because to be a personality is different from working here 8 to 5. Like you're the forward-facing face or one of the forward-facing faces of the company. And so it's a different monster. It's a different kind of position. And they wanted to be very sensitive, intentional, and just wise at making sure that whoever is going to be writing books, whoever is going to be on the news stations, whoever is going to be traveling the world, promoting their brand, which represents Ramsey Solutions, it's a good culture fit. And so it took about a year and 2 months to interview for this position. And gratefully, I got it. And I would definitely say this on your show, man. When you look at me on paper, I shouldn't be here on paper, you know, but God's favor, God's grace is the reason why I'm here today.
It's amazing. So you're in his company now and a huge personality, but also I think you have you're known for excellence in your financial freedom principles you share. Can you give some overarching lessons you've learned, specifically talking about in the lane where people are like choosing colleges nowadays?
Yeah.
I know, you know, student debt is something that you are very passionate about, making sure that there's total financial freedom. Can you share some, like, what would you tell your son one day in choosing a college, how to go about that, and then some financial freedom principles? And we'll get into some of the details of it as you go.
Yeah. One of the things I would tell my son is really not college, I would ask him or her, my daughter, what do you want to do with your life? I think that's the problem that parents have today. We tell them they're going to college rather than asking them, what do you want to do with your life? Okay. So then if my son said, hey, I want to be a lawyer, or hey, I want to be a school teacher. Okay, cool. You got to go to college for that. What college do you want to go to? Well, Dad, my dream college is Harvard. Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. Okay. Can we afford it? One, why is it your dream college though? Because I think we got to really help young people understand the true definition of a dream college. And my definition of a dream college is one you can graduate from debt free. So one you can go to and graduate from 100% debt free. Because we all know the facts and the stats. There's $1.7 trillion in student loan debt, and that's about 45 million borrowers. I've met people who have up to $900,000 in student loans when the average kid is graduate with about $35,000 in student loans. But then a fifth of these young people will graduate with a mortgage payment, but don't even have any real estate. And so for me, my whole message there is avoid student loan debt, pick a school that you can afford. And if you can afford a school, it should be in-state, because in-state on average is about $10,000. That's only $833 a month. That's easy. You know, if you work at least 20 hours a week, get some help from your parents, continue applying for scholarships, you should be able to cash flow that. But once you graduate college, man, one of the key things I'm telling people when it comes to financial independence and financial success, and here's a key ingredient: just live below your means. Nearly 80% of the people in America are living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because they're living above their means. Mm. Their rent is 40, 50, 60% of their paycheck. No. If you're going to live below your means, that means your rent or your mortgage payment should not be no more than 24 to 25% max of what you have. If you're 100% debt free, okay, you can skate on the 30%. But I tell people the max you should be doing right now is 25%. Your car note. You shouldn't have a car note, because why do you want to finance a depreciating asset? You should be paying cash for your vehicles. I make great money. I'm blessed to make great money, and I still drive a old school car with 200,000 miles on it. And I think it's coming to its end. And when it does, I'm going to pay cash for a car. And it may not be my dream car today, but I'm okay with that because I love waking up on the first of the month, man. And when I wake up, all I got to do is pay my mortgage payment. Nothing else. No car notes, no credit card bills, no student loans, no loans, nothing. So when I pay my mortgage payment and just my regular utilities and insurance, the rest of the money is mine. I get to tell it what it's going to do. I get to invest it and watch it grow. I get to have some sitting in my emergency fund. And so graduate college debt free is what I'm teaching young people. Live below your means. How you live below your means is you get on a solid budget. Okay. I use the app called Every Dollar. It helps me do a zero-based budget where you're going to list all of your income. You're going to list all of your expenses. And at the end of that budget, it should equal out to zero. You have a budget, you live below your means, and you make sure you go to college debt free. That's a great foundation to start on.
So helpful. So helpful. So you mentioned something. So say somebody doesn't know what they want to do, career-wise, what they want to go into. Maybe they don't have the self-awareness yet of what their great gifts are. You would say, go to community college, do some prereqs. Is that how you would say to go about it? And then kind of identify yourself through trying different venues, jobs? I'm essentially asking the question is, how do you find your calling? What would you say?
How you find your calling, man, is I think you got to do a lot of deep searching. I recommend a lot of people to look up one of my good friends, Ken Coleman. He has a book called Proximity Principle, and he teaches you how to find that sweet spot. And so that's his expertise field. And so what I want to recommend to people who are listening to your podcast, if that is you, if you're like, I don't know what I really want to do, he literally walks you through the process on how to identify what is that sweet spot. And I want to recommend that they go to kencoleman.com, get the book Proximity Principle. They can get that on Amazon because he's going to walk you through a whole process on how to identify that. But let's say, for an example, you don't know right now, you're graduating high school and you're getting pressure to go off to college. Yeah, I don't have a problem with you going to community college and starting with your prereqs. That's cool. But for an example, let's say you're good at doing hair. You don't need to go to community college. You need to go to hair school. Let's say you want to be a welder. You can go to welding school. So it's kind of important to kind of identify that real quick, because what you don't want to do is waste money on something that you should not have been doing when you could have spent that same money to go over here to trade school, or maybe go into the military, or go to and get this certificate. And some degree, not some degrees, but some professions don't require a degree. They just require time in a profession. And so I think one of the key things you got to do is, when you find that sweet spot, next is you got to find some research. You really got to step back and just do some research. What do I need to do to be successful? And I'm a living witness. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I have my seminary degree, but I don't have a bachelor's degree. And I'm very successful, and I'm still growing. And so if you live with intentionality, if you have hard work ethic, and if you're a young man or a young woman of character, you will be successful.
That's good. Why do you think the notion is naturally to go to college, even if it's haphazardly, like you don't know what you want to do? Why do you think we're like that? Is that just from a traditional sense because we're in America? What would you say?
Yeah, I think college makes people feel some level of success. And I think in some way it should. I mean, because, college is not mandatory. So if you do go to college and you do graduate, that should resemble some level of success. But I think some people are not shooting their sacred cows. I don't believe that everyone needs to go to college, because studies are showing that out of 3 kids who go off to college, 2 of them, not go off to college, out of 3 kids who graduate high school, 2 of them will go off to college. 1 of them will actually graduate. So this means 1 out of every 3 high school students actually end up with a college degree. Wow. And so when you look at some of these millionaires and billionaires, they don't have college degrees. But then when you look at some of them, they do have college degrees. But one thing I've learned with the people who do have college degrees and the people who don't have college degrees, they have a clear vision and they have a clear plan on how to accomplish and reach their vision. Good. And so I think when you have a clear vision, when you have a clear plan, which I say are many goals, followed by daily habits, you will be successful. What are you doing every single day to meet your monthly goals? What are you doing every single month that's going to get you to your yearly goals? So I think when you have that in line, no matter if you go to college or not go to college, you can still be successful.
So 2 more questions. One is, so say you have a college student, they're in the middle of college. Let's give them, they're a sophomore, 2nd year in, finishing up prereqs. And they're just like, I'm already in this thing. I'm already in college. What would you say to them if they don't have a clear vision for where they're going? Would you say, okay, let's step back?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're in college and you're a sophomore, a rising sophomore, and you have no idea what you want to do, stop wasting money. Stop it. Stop it. Step back, do some research, get into the workforce, try different things, pick up King Coleman's book, The Proximity Principle, and he's going to teach you, okay, he's going to ask you a lot of questions, like to help you figure out, okay, I am good at that. Maybe that is my passion. But you got to do the research. It makes no sense for you to get a bachelor's degree to only find out that you really should have got this degree. And so absolutely, please step back, do the research, and then come back. It's never too late to finish the game. It's never too late. But it can be too late when you rack up the debt.
That's right. That's good. Who are some voices, maybe some books? I know you recommended Ken Coleman's book. Definitely your book. Where can we find your book? Is it on Amazon? Is it on your website? How can we find your book?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a child that's going off to college eventually, my book is called Debt-Free Degree. You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to my website, anthonyoneal.com, to order that there. And then I would definitely recommend, like I said, King Coleman's book for young people who are looking, or not young people, all people who are looking to really better their career fields. And then, when it comes to money, man, I'm really proud of my big sister called Rachel Cruz. She has a book called Know You, Know Your Money. Is that it? Know Yourself, Know Your Money. It's coming out here in January. And I want to recommend everyone get that, because what she's talking about is when you know who you are, you know why you spend money the way you spend. So if you can fix you, you can fix any money issues that you may have. And so those are 3 books that I would highly recommend: Debt-Free Degree, Proximity Principle, and Know Yourself and Know Your Money.
Brilliant. Last question is this. It really is a statement you made, and I would love if you could debrief it a little bit more. You said in a podcast I was listening, you said, I came into this world crying. I want to go out smiling. I love that. Can you explain that a little bit and the heart behind it?
Well, I came into this world crying because I was born. Every baby comes in crying when they're pushed out of their mother's womb. The average person leaves this world crying because they're sad to go. And I think I'm going to be sad, but I want to have tears of joy. I want to be smiling. And I'm looking up at my wife. I'm looking up at my kids prayerfully, because I know that I'm leaving them with wealth. I'm leaving them with joy, with peace. And I know they're going to be sad to see me transitioning and going off to heaven. But at the same time, I've watched so many families lose their loved ones, and they're bound with all this debt, these bills, struggles, finding out things that they didn't even know. And I don't want to be that. I want to have tears of joy. I want to be smiling. I want to walk to the pearls, to the gates and say, "What's up, God? I'm good, man. I served well I messed up, but I did good. My wife, she's straight. My kids, they straight. My grandkids, they straight. I didn't meet my great grandkids because you brought me home early. But I'll be able to look down at them and see them smiling and enjoying life because of the work that you allowed me to do, God. And I'm going to be smiling up in heaven because I smiled at my deathbed." And so for me, not this generation, but people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're dying with debt. And especially when you look at people of color, minorities, they're leaving debt. They're not leaving wealth. They're not leaving an inheritance. And I want to flip that for my family. I think I'm going to make a shirt saying, "I'm leaving inheritance. Are you?" Because that's important for me.
Yeah, what's that proverb? It's, good man leaves a inheritance for his children.
Yes, sir.
And I think what I'm learning from you from a distance and even up close and personal is just, if you want to succeed personally, you have to succeed financially. And I love it. You've said it before. You want your money to be your number one employee. It's a brilliant way to look at finances. I want my money working for me when I'm sleeping. Yes. And I think what we tend to do a lot of times as believers, Christians, even maybe pastors, is we because it's a financial thing and it doesn't seem like this is spiritual. This is a spiritual thing, just as
it
much
is.
As stewardship. Yeah. Stewardship is a big deal to God. And so I appreciate your voice. I appreciate your message, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on. Any final thoughts you want to share? Anything that's kind of burning on your heart to share to some young professionals that are up and coming? I would love to hear that.
Man, last thing before I got to jet out of here is I would definitely say the caliber of your future is determined by the choices you make today. And I believe that if you make the right choice today, you'll see a payoff in the future. If you make the wrong choice today, you will see that in the future as well. I am paying for things today, literally, from things that I did at 19. And I'm like, dude, it's almost 20 years ago and I'm still having to explain this. Yeah. So it's just something that I'm really, really, really big on, that just make the right decisions. Don't think about just today. Think about from 20 years. I just purchased a home, and everyone knows I got into debt and I had some crazy stuff, of course, going to collections, and some of those collection items were still on my credit report. And the bank is like, "Hey, what is this? What is this all about? You're a money guy." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. You see, it's like 20 years old though." And I got to explain it because of those decisions that I made in the past. So if I can leave them with that, just make sure that the caliber of your future is good because of the choices you made today.
Brilliant. So brilliant, man. Reminds me of that quote, you're born looking like your dad, but you die looking like your decisions. Your decisions are a big deal. And so we got to choose them wisely. Anthony, thank you so much, man, for coming on our podcast. RL people will probably flood you real quick and give you some encouragement. But thank you so much for investing in us. We always say here on the 508 podcast, we don't fear the future. We pioneer it. God bless you guys. Thanks so much for listening to this episode.
Peace.